When a man tried to intimidate a woman at the gym, he had no idea she was a Navy SEAL. What happened next left the entire room speechless. The Midtown Fitness Center in Phoenix was alive with the usual chaos of an after-work crowd. Machines clanged, sneakers squeaked on the rubberized floor, and music thumped faintly in the background. Among the gym-goers was Kendra, a 34-year-old black woman who exuded confidence and focus. Her routine was precise: deadlifts, burpees, and pull-ups. She didn't talk much, didn't linger, and never drew attention to herself. Today was no different. Kendra wore her usual gym attire, simple black leggings and a tank top, and had her earbuds in, a silent message that she wasn't there for small talk. As she adjusted the weights on the squat rack, a man approached her. His presence loomed uninvited like a storm cloud. He was in his mid-50s, broad-shouldered, and clearly someone who spent significant time in the gym. But there was something off about him. The way he smirked when she noticed him made her instinctively straighten her posture. "You're using that wrong," he said, his voice tinged with condescension. Kendra raised an eyebrow, taking one earbud out. "Excuse me?" she replied evenly. "The weights," he continued, gesturing broadly. "You're not setting them up right. You could hurt yourself." Kendra gave a small, polite smile. "Thanks, but I've got it." But he didn't leave. Instead, he crossed his arms and planted himself firmly beside her, as though staking a claim on the equipment. "I've been coming here for years," he added. "Let me show you the proper form." "No need," Kendra said firmly, putting the earbud back in and turning to her barbell. The man's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. He muttered something under his breath, something Kendra didn't catch but could feel in the air. A couple of people nearby glanced over, sensing the tension, but no one intervened. It was one of those moments where people convince themselves it's not their business. Kendra continued her workout, her movements fluid and controlled, but the man stayed close, watching her with a mix of irritation and disbelief. Every time she switched exercises, he seemed to find a reason to follow, muttering critiques she ignored. And then it happened. Kendra moved to the bench press, adjusting the weights, when he spoke loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Women like you think they know everything, huh?" She froze mid-movement. Slowly, she turned to him, her expression calm but her eyes blazing. "What exactly is that supposed to mean?" The room felt quieter, as though the clatter of weights and hum of conversation had dimmed just a little. A few heads turned, curious but hesitant to get involved. The man shrugged, clearly emboldened by the attention. "I'm just saying maybe you should stick to what you're good at." Kendra didn't take the bait. Instead, she gave him a long, measured look, then calmly returned to her workout. But the air was charged now, an invisible line drawn in the sand, and it was only a matter of time before someone crossed it. The man didn't let it go. His words hung in the air, sour and bitter, feeding into the room's unease. Kendra could feel his gaze on her, like a weight of its own. She finished her set, ignoring the simmering tension, and moved to the water fountain. It was only a few steps away, but it gave her enough time to assess the situation. She'd seen men like him before, arrogant, insecure, desperate for control in any space they entered. She wasn't intimidated. Years of discipline and training had taught her how to stay calm under pressure, but that didn't mean she couldn't feel the heat of the moment rising. As Kendra reached for her water bottle, the man followed. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his jaw tight with indignation. "Hey," he barked. "I'm talking to you." Kendra paused, her grip tightening on the bottle, but she didn't look at him. Instead, she calmly took a sip and placed the cap back on, her movements deliberate. The room seemed to hold its breath, but she knew better than to escalate. "Look," he continued, his tone dripping with condescension. "You don't have to act all tough. If you're struggling, just say so, I can help." Kendra turned to face him now, her voice measured and cool. "Struggling? The only thing I'm struggling with is your inability to leave me alone." A few gym-goers glanced over, sensing the shift in her tone. Some paused their workouts entirely, the weight of unspoken questions evident on their faces. Would he back off? Would she let it slide? The man laughed, but it was a sharp, humorless sound. "You think you're better than me?" he snapped, stepping closer. "What makes you so special?" Kendra's eyes narrowed, but she kept her voice steady. "Nothing makes me special. But I know how to handle myself. Do you?" That seemed to strike a nerve. His face darkened, and he stepped even closer, his voice dropping into a low, threatening tone. "You better watch your mouth." The tension in the room was palpable now. People were no longer pretending not to notice. A young man on a treadmill hesitated, glancing at Kendra, then at the man. as if trying to decide whether to intervene, but Kendra caught his eye and gave the slightest shake of her head. She didn't need anyone stepping in, at least not yet. But the man wasn't just angry. He was unraveling, and everyone in the room could feel the moment teetering on the edge of something dangerous. The man's anger boiled over, his fists clenching at his sides. He took another step closer, now invading Kendra's personal space. She didn't flinch. Instead, she straightened, her eyes locked on his, calm and unshaken. It wasn't defiance. It was precision, control, a silent message that she wasn't afraid. "You've got a smart mouth, don't you?" he spat, his voice loud enough to echo off the gym walls. By now the room was on edge. A few gym employees behind the counter whispered among themselves, uncertain whether to step in. Others stayed frozen, caught in the awkward paralysis of wanting to help but not knowing how. Kendra took a breath, exhaling slowly. "You need to calm down," she said firmly. Her voice carried no anger, only authority. It wasn't a suggestion. But her words only seemed to ignite him further. He reached out, grabbing her arm roughly. Gasps rippled through the gym. Kendra didn't move at first, her body eerily still, as if calculating the situation. "What are you going to do about it?" he sneered, his grip tightening. And that's when everything changed. Kendra moved so quickly that the man didn't even register what was happening. Her free hand shot up, grabbing his wrist in an ironclad grip. With a swift, fluid motion, she twisted his arm, forcing him to release her. The sudden reversal of power stunned him, his face contorting with shock and pain. As she stepped back, placing herself out of reach but fully in control, she spoke. "Let me make one thing clear," she said, her voice steady and sharp, cutting through the stunned silence of the gym. "You don't put your hands on me. Ever." The man stumbled back, clutching his wrist, his bravado visibly crumbling. But instead of retreating, he let out a frustrated roar and lunged at her. This time, Kendra didn't hold back. She sidestepped his clumsy attack effortlessly, using his momentum against him. In one seamless move, she swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing to the mat with a loud thud. The gym erupted into chaos. Some people shouted, others scrambled to get out of the way, and a few pulled out their phones recording the scene. The man groaned, dazed and humiliated, as Kendra stood over him, her stance solid and unwavering. "You really don't know when to quit," she said, her voice low enough that only he could hear. For a moment, he seemed to consider another attempt, but the look in her eyes stopped him cold. She wasn't just confident, she was trained. Dangerous. The realization dawned on him too late, but the fear in his eyes said everything. The damage was done, and now the entire gym had witnessed not just his aggression, but his humiliating defeat at the hands of someone he had underestimated. The gym was buzzing now, the low hum of whispers and the click of recording phones filling the space. Kendra stood tall, her breathing steady as she scanned the room. Her body language was calm but commanding, as if daring anyone else to step out of line. The man, still sprawled on the mat, scrambled to his feet, his face a cocktail of anger, shame, and confusion. "You're crazy," he shouted, pointing at her like a cornered animal. "You think you can just..." "Enough." Kendra cut him off, her tone slicing through his words like a knife. "You've embarrassed yourself enough for one day. Leave." A gym employee finally stepped forward, a young woman with wide eyes and trembling hands. "Sir," she said, her voice shaky. "You need to go. Now." The man's jaw tightened, and for a moment, it looked like he might resist. But the weight of the stares from everyone around him, some angry, others disgusted, seemed to sink in. His shoulders slumped as he backed away, muttering something unintelligible. He grabbed his bag from a nearby bench and stormed out, shoving the glass door open so hard it rattled. As the door closed behind him, the room seemed to exhale collectively. Someone clapped. Then another. Until a small wave of applause rippled through the crowd. Kendra raised a hand, signaling for silence. "It's over," she said simply. The crowd began to disperse, some returning to their workouts, others still whispering and glancing her way. A young man approached her cautiously, his phone still in hand. "That was incredible," he said, his voice filled with awe. "Are you like some kind of martial artist or something?" Kendra gave him a small smile, though her eyes remained serious. "Something like that," she said, not offering more. Another gym-goer, a middle-aged woman, stepped forward. "Are you okay?" That was terrifying to watch. "I'm fine," Kendra replied, her tone calm but firm. "Thank you for asking." The young woman who worked at the counter appeared again, wringing her hands nervously. "Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I should have stepped in sooner. I just didn't know." "You did what you could," Kendra interrupted, her expression softening. Not everyone knows how to handle situations like that. The employee nodded, still looking uneasy. We should call the police though. He might come back. Kendra considered this for a moment. No need, she said finally. He's not coming back. Trust me. There was a confidence in her voice that left no room for doubt. She turned, heading to the locker room to grab her things. But as she walked away, the murmurs continued, and the weight of what had just happened lingered in the air, leaving everyone to grapple with their own thoughts. Kendra walked into the locker room, her steps measured and purposeful. As she reached for her gym bag, she caught her reflection in the mirror, a calm, composed face staring back. There was no triumph in her expression, no trace of gloating. This wasn't about proving something to anyone, it was about making a statement. Respect is not optional. She packed her things in silence, letting the adrenaline fade. Just as she zipped up her bag, the young woman from the front desk cautiously entered. Her name tag read Tara. She lingered near the doorway, fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. Can I ask you something? Tara finally said. Kendra turned, her gaze steady but kind. Sure. Tara hesitated, then blurted, How did you stay so calm? I mean, he was so aggressive and you just handled it like, how? Kendra leaned against the bench, folding her arms. It's not about staying calm, she said. It's about knowing you can handle yourself. Fear loses its grip when you're prepared. Tara tilted her head, curious. So, you're trained? Like military or something? Kendra gave a small nod. I served as a Navy SEAL for over a decade. I've faced worse situations than what happened out there. Tara's eyes widened. Wow, that explains a lot. But it's not just about training, Kendra added, her tone serious. It's about understanding when to act and when to let things go. He wasn't just angry, he was insecure. People like that look for easy targets. When you show them you're not one, they don't know what to do. Tara nodded slowly as if processing the weight of Kendra's words. I wish I could be that brave. You can, Kendra said simply. Bravery isn't about not being scared. It's about standing firm when it matters. As Tara absorbed the advice, the locker room door creaked open, and the middle-aged woman who had checked on Kendra earlier peeked in. Sorry to interrupt, she said softly. I just wanted to say thank you. You handled that with so much grace. Honestly, it made me think about how often I let people walk all over me. Kendra offered a faint smile. Standing up for yourself isn't always easy, but it's necessary, not just for you but for everyone watching. The woman nodded, her expression thoughtful. You're right. I think I needed to see that. Kendra slung her bag over her shoulder. We all need reminders sometimes. As she stepped out of the locker room and into the cool evening air, Kendra felt a sense of quiet resolve. She hadn't planned for any of this to happen, but maybe it was meant to. Maybe someone in that gym needed to see what strength looked like, not in physical power but in composure, in resilience, in refusing to let ignorance win. But even as she walked to her car, she knew the story wasn't just about her. It was about everyone in that gym who would leave with a new perspective, a lesson etched into their minds about respect, courage, and the dangers of underestimating someone based on assumptions. The gym emptied out slowly that evening, but the event stayed fresh in everyone's minds. Conversations rippled through the group of regulars, some replaying what they had seen, others questioning their own reactions. Why had they hesitated? What would they have done differently? The confrontation had sparked something deeper than shock. It had forced people to examine their assumptions, and their silence. Tara, still shaken but inspired, sat at the counter after her shift, scrolling through her phone. The video someone had taken of Kendra's calm yet decisive actions had already begun circulating online. Comments flooded in, admiration, disbelief, and even some introspection. She handled it like a pro. This is what strength looks like. Why did no one step in sooner? The incident wasn't just about what had happened. It was about what it revealed. Too often, people underestimated others, whether because of arrogance, bias, or ignorance. Kendra had shattered those illusions with precision and grace. And in doing so, she had become a symbol of quiet power. Kendra herself sat at home, sipping tea as her dog curled up at her feet. Her phone buzzed with messages from gym members, thanking her, praising her courage, or asking for advice. She appreciated the sentiment but didn't see herself as a hero. For her, it wasn't about the spotlight. It was about standing firm in the face of injustice, no matter how small or large the stage. The following week, she returned to the gym as unassuming as ever. People greeted her differently now, their respect evident in their smiles and nods. Tara approached her shyly, holding out a card. Just wanted to say thanks, she said. You've inspired me. Kendra opened the card later at home. Inside was a simple message. You reminded me that strength comes in many forms. Thank you for showing me what it means to truly stand tall. It wasn't just Tara who had learned something that day. Everyone who had witnessed the confrontation, or even just heard about it, had walked away with a lesson. Respect is earned, not given lightly. Strength isn't about size or bravado. It's about resolve and courage. It's the quiet act of standing firm when the world expects you to crumble. The man, on the other hand, had disappeared from the gym entirely. Whether from shame or fear, no one knew. But his actions had left a lasting impact. Not the one he intended, but one that served as a stark reminder of what happens when ignorance meets resilience. As Kendra reflected on the incident, one thought stood out. Maybe the world didn't need more heroes. Maybe it just needed more people willing to stand their ground and demand the respect they deserved. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of the power of respect, strength, and courage. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that inspire, challenge, and leave you thinking long after the credits roll. Thanks for watching.